I never believed in fate until I found that phone on the subway platform. Now I wish I'd just walked past it, because what I saw in those messages changed everything, and I only had 3 days to stop something terrible from happening. Let me take you back to where it all started. It was a Tuesday evening, around 7:30. I was heading home from my job at the marketing firm downtown. Nothing special about that day, just another tired commute, another crowded train station, another reason to question why I was paying so much to live in this city. The platform was packed as usual. People were shoulder to shoulder, everyone staring at their phones, lost in their own worlds. I was doing the same thing, scrolling through social media without really seeing anything, just killing time until the next train arrives. That's when I heard it, a notification sound. But it wasn't coming from my phone. I looked down, and there it was, a phone sitting right there on the concrete platform, just a few inches from my feet. The screen was lit up with a new message notification. My first thought was to look around, see if anyone nearby had just dropped it, but everyone around me was already holding their own phones. No one seemed to be searching for anything. The train was pulling into the station, and people were pushing forward to get on. I bent down and picked it up. I figured I'd turn it in to the station attendant, or maybe try to find the owner. The screen showed a text message preview. I didn't mean to read it, but it was right there, impossible to ignore. The message said, "It's confirmed. Thursday night, 10 p.m. Don't mess this up." Okay, I thought. Probably just someone making plans. Nothing weird about that. The train doors opened and people rushed past me. I should have gotten on that train. Should have just dropped the phone at the nearest information desk and forgotten about it. But something made me hesitate. Another message came through as I stood there. Same contact. The preview on the lock screen read, "Remember, once we do this, there's no going back. Someone's going to get hurt." My stomach dropped. The train doors closed and pulled away, leaving me standing there on the platform with this stranger's phone in my hand. My mind was racing. Someone's going to get hurt. What did that mean? I knew I shouldn't look, privacy and all that, but come on, if you found a phone with a message like that, wouldn't you be curious? Wouldn't you want to know if someone was actually in danger? The phone didn't have a passcode. Who doesn't lock their phone? It opened right up when I swiped. The messaging app was still on the screen. I could see the full conversation now. I started scrolling up to see the earlier messages. My hands were shaking a little. The conversation had started earlier that day. There were maybe 20 messages back and forth between the phone's owner and someone saved in the contacts as M. The first message from M said, "Are you sure you want to do this? Once we start, the police will be involved. Your life will never be the same." The phone's owner, whoever they were, had replied, "I don't have a choice anymore. It's gone too far. This is the only way to make it stop." M responded, "Okay, but we need to be smart about this. We can't leave any evidence. Can you get what we need?" "Already got it. Stored in the usual place." "Good. Remember the plan. Thursday night at 10 p.m. I'll create the distraction. You handle the rest." I felt sick reading this. What were these people planning? It sounded like they were going to hurt someone, or worse, and it was happening in 2 days, on Thursday at 10 p.m. Another train pulled into the station. I should have gotten on it, but I just stood there, scrolling through more messages. I needed to understand what was going on. There were older messages from previous days. The conversation had been going on for at least a week. I kept reading, trying to piece it together. M had written, "I did some research. There are 3 ways we could do this. The first one is too risky. We'd definitely get caught. The second one might work, but it would take too long. The third option is our best bet. Quick, clean, and we'd have enough time to get away." Get away? Get away from what? This was sounding worse by the minute. The phone's owner had replied, "I trust you. You've always been good at this stuff. Just tell me what I need to do." M said, "First, we need to watch the location for a few days, learn the patterns, figure out when security is lightest. I've already started. There's a gap every night between 9:45 and 10:15. That's our window." Security? Location?
My mind was spinning with possibilities. Were they planning to rob somewhere, break into a building? But then I saw another message that made my blood run cold. M had written, "I know you're scared, but think about what he did to you. Think about how he ruined your life. He deserves this. And after Thursday night, he'll never be able to hurt anyone else again." He? They were talking about a person, a specific person, and they clearly wanted to hurt him or kill him. Oh God, were they planning to kill someone? I looked around the platform frantically, like someone might see the guilt on my face, like they'd know I was reading someone else's private messages. But everyone was still lost in their own worlds. No one was paying attention to me. My practical side kicked in. I needed to call the police right now, hand over this phone and let them deal with it. This was way above my pay grade. I wasn't a detective. I was just a marketing coordinator who happened to find a phone. But then I had another thought. What would I tell the police? That I found a phone with some vague messages about something happening Thursday night? They'd probably think I was wasting their time, or they'd ask why I was reading someone's private messages. Was that even legal? And what if I was wrong? What if this was all some big misunderstanding? What if these people were planning something completely innocent and I was just reading too much into their words? I stood there on that platform for what felt like hours, but was probably only 5 minutes. 3 more trains came and went. I let them all pass. I couldn't move, couldn't think straight. Finally, I did what any confused person in the modern age does. I took screenshots, lots of them. I pulled out my own phone and started taking pictures of the conversations on the found phone. Evidence, just in case I needed it later. There were other apps on the phone, too. I opened the photo gallery. Maybe there'd be something there that would help me understand what was going on, some clue about who owned this phone or who they were planning to hurt. The most recent photos were screenshots, too. Screenshots of what looked like building layouts, floor plans. There were handwritten notes on some of them, arrows pointing to different rooms, times written in the margins, security change at 10 p.m., blind spot, northwest corner, exit route, service entrance. This was planned, really planned. These people had been preparing for something big. I kept scrolling through the photos. There were pictures of a man, different photos from different angles, like someone had been following him, taking surveillance photos. The man looked to be in his 50s maybe, balding, glasses, wearing business suits in most of the pictures. He was getting into a car in one photo, walking into an office building in another, having coffee at an outdoor cafe in a third. Who was this guy, and why were they watching him? Then I found something that made my hands go numb. It was a photo of a news article. Someone had screenshotted from a news website. The headline read, "Local business owner accused of harassment by former employees." The article had a photo. It was the same man from the surveillance pictures. His name was in the article, Richard Westbrook, owner of some tech consulting company downtown. According to the article, 3 former employees had filed complaints against him, allegations of sexual harassment and hostile work environment. The case had been dismissed due to lack of evidence. Okay, so now I had a name, Richard Westbrook, and apparently whoever owned this phone had a serious problem with him, serious enough to plan something for Thursday night. Another message came through while I was reading. My heart jumped. The phone vibrated in my hand. M said, "Did you get rid of your regular phone like I told you? We can't have them tracing your real number." Oh, so this was a burner phone. That explained why there was no passcode. Whoever owned it probably didn't keep anything personal on it. They were being careful, smart, which made this whole thing even terrifying. A response bubble appeared, 3 dots showing that the phone's owner was typing. I waited, holding my breath, feeling like a creep watching this conversation in real time. The message came through. "Yes, it's at the bottom of the Hudson River. I'm using this one until Friday. Then I'll get rid of it too."
Good. After tomorrow night, we both disappear for a while. I have the tickets. We leave Friday morning. By the time anyone figures out what happened, we'll be long gone. Tickets? They were planning to leave town? This was getting more serious by the second. I finally forced myself to move. I walked toward the exit, still holding both phones, my phone and the burner.
I needed to get somewhere quiet where I could think, figure out what to do next. The station attendant booth was right by the exit. I could see the woman inside reading something on her computer. I could just walk up and hand her the phone, say I found it, let her deal with it. But I didn't. I walked right past that booth and up the stairs to the street level. Why? I still don't know. Some part of me felt like I needed to understand more before involving anyone else, like I needed to be sure this was really what it looked like. Plus, if I turned it in now, what would happen? It would sit in lost and found somewhere. Maybe the owner would come back for it, maybe they wouldn't. Either way, whatever they had planned for Thursday night would probably still happen, unless I went to the police. But again, what would I tell them? I walked the 6 blocks to my apartment in a daze. I barely noticed the traffic or the people around me. My mind was completely occupied with what I'd just read. When I got home, I locked the door behind me and sat down at my kitchen table. I laid both phones out in front of me, mine and the burner, just staring at them like they might somehow explain themselves. I lived alone in a small studio apartment, one room that served as bedroom, living room, and office, a tiny bathroom, a kitchen that was barely big enough to turn around in. It was all I could afford in this city on my salary, but right then I was grateful for the solitude. I needed space to think. The burner phone lit up with another message. I grabbed it immediately. "I'm getting nervous. Are you absolutely sure about this?" The response came quickly. "I've never been more sure of anything. He destroyed my career, my reputation, my life, and he got away with it. The system failed, so now we handle it our way." "Okay, I'm with you, all the way, but we stick to the plan exactly as we discussed. No improvising, no mistakes." "Agreed. See you tomorrow night, 9:45 p.m., the northwest entrance like we planned." "See you then. And hey, after this is over, everything will be different. Better, I promise." "I hope you're right." The conversation ended there. I sat back in my chair, my mind racing. Tomorrow night, Thursday night at 9:45, that was less than 48 hours away. I had 2 days to figure out what to do. I opened my laptop and searched for Richard Westbrook. The news article I'd seen in the photos came up right away. I read through it carefully. 3 women had filed complaints against him at his company. They claimed he'd made inappropriate comments, sent suggestive messages, created an uncomfortable work environment. One of them claimed he'd touched her inappropriately at a company party. Westbrook had denied everything, said the women were disgruntled employees who were lying to get money from him. The company did an internal investigation and found no evidence to support the claims. The women had been let go for performance issues. They'd tried to sue, but the case had been thrown out. I found social media profiles for Westbrook. He had a Facebook page that was mostly private, a LinkedIn that showed he'd been running his consulting company for over 15 years. The company website made it look like a successful business. 20 employees, big corporate clients, office in a nice building downtown. I tried searching for the women who'd made the accusations, but couldn't find much. One of them had a LinkedIn profile, but it hadn't been updated in over a year. Her last listed job was at Westbrook's company. Nothing since then, like she'd disappeared from the professional world. Maybe she was the one who owned this burner phone. I spent the next hour going down internet rabbit holes, reading everything I could find about Westbrook and his company, looking for any information that might help me understand what was going on. Around 9:30, I realized I hadn't eaten dinner. I made myself a sandwich, but could barely taste it. My mind was elsewhere. I kept picking up the burner phone, checking for new messages. Nothing came through. I tried to watch TV, couldn't focus. Tried to read a book. The words just swam on the page. I took a shower thinking maybe that would help me relax and think clearly. It didn't. By 11 p.m., I was lying in bed, both phones on the nightstand next to me. Sleep felt impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those messages. Someone's gonna get hurt. He deserves this. After tomorrow night, everything will be different. What if they were planning to kill Richard Westbrook? What if I did nothing and someone died? Could I live with that? But what if I was wrong? What if this was all some elaborate prank or role play or something completely innocent that I was misinterpreting? Then I'd have invaded someone's privacy and potentially gotten them in trouble for nothing. I must have fallen asleep eventually because I woke up to sunlight coming through my window. Wednesday morning, one day until whatever was going to happen. The burner phone had 2 new messages, both from M, both sent around 2 a.m. Can't sleep. Keep thinking about tomorrow. Are we really doing this? And then, an hour later, never mind. I'm good. We're good. This is right. See you tomorrow. I got ready for work on autopilot. Shower, coffee, toast. The whole time, my mind was spinning with possibilities. What should I do? What could I do? At work, I was useless. I sat at my desk, pretending to review marketing reports, but really just staring at my computer screen. My coworker Jessica asked if I was feeling okay. I told her I was fine, just tired. She didn't look convinced, but didn't push it. During my lunch break, I walked to the nearest police station. I stood outside for 10 minutes trying to build up the courage to go in. But what would I say? Hi, I found a phone and read through someone's private messages, and I think maybe they're planning to hurt someone, but I'm not really sure. They'd probably think I was crazy, or they'd lecture me about invasion of privacy, or they'd take the phone and do nothing because there wasn't enough concrete evidence to act on. I walked away without going in, told myself I'd think about it more. Maybe something else would come up, some clearer sign of what was really going on. The rest of Wednesday crawled by. Every hour felt like 3. I kept checking the burner phone obsessively. No new messages came through. That almost made it worse. The silence felt ominous. That evening, I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to know more about Richard Westbrook, where he worked, where he lived, what his routine was. If something was going to happen to him tomorrow night, maybe I could figure out where it would happen. I found his company's address online. It was in an office building downtown, about 20 minutes from where I lived. The building was one of those modern glass and steel structures, 10 floors, multiple companies inside. I took the subway downtown around 7 p.m. I told myself I was just going to look around, get a sense of the place. Maybe I'd see something that would help me understand the plan. The building was in a busy part of downtown, lots of restaurants and shops nearby, people walking around even in the evening. The lobby had a security desk with a guard checking IDs, so you couldn't just walk in. Made sense. I stood across the street pretending to look at my phone, but really watching the building. After about 20 minutes, I saw him, Richard Westbrook, walking out of the building with a briefcase. He looked exactly like his photos, balding, glasses, business suit. He walked to a parking garage a block away. I followed him, keeping my distance, feeling like a creep, feeling like a stalker, but I couldn't stop myself. I needed to know more. He got into a BMW, nice car, drove out of the garage and headed north. I watched until his car disappeared into traffic. Then I walked back toward the office building. That's when I noticed it. The northwest corner of the building. There was a service entrance there, less visible from the street, no security guard that I could see, just a door with a keypad lock. Was this where they were planning to do whatever they were planning, at this entrance, tomorrow night at 9:45? I took some photos with my own phone, the entrance, the building, the surrounding area. I'm not sure why, it just felt like something I should document. On the subway home, I made notes on my phone. Everything I'd seen, everything I'd learned, the timing, the location, the people involved, like I was building a case file. But a case file for what? For the police? For myself? I still didn't know what to do with all this information. I got home around 9 p.m., made myself dinner, tried to act normal, like tomorrow night I wasn't potentially going to witness something that could change multiple lives forever. The burner phone buzzed. New message from M. Tomorrow is the day. Are you ready? The response came quickly. Ready as I'll ever be. This time tomorrow, it'll be over. Remember, 9:45, northwest entrance. I'll have everything we need. I'll be there. Thank you for doing this with me. I couldn't do it alone.
That's what friends are for. We look out for each other. And we make sure people like him can't keep hurting people. I read those messages over and over. Friends. They were friends, and they believed they were doing the right thing. That's what made this so complicated. They weren't just random criminals. They felt justified, like they were getting justice that the system had failed to provide. But that didn't make it okay. Whatever they were planning, it wasn't legal. It wasn't right. Two wrongs don't make a right. All those things my parents taught me as a kid. I spent the rest of Wednesday evening pacing my apartment, looking at the screenshots on my phone, reading through them again and again, trying to find some detail I'd missed, some clue that would tell me exactly what was going to happen. There were so many possibilities. They could be planning to confront him, threaten him, beat him up, or worse. The messages were vague enough that it could be anything. Around midnight, I made a decision. Sort of. I was going to go to the building tomorrow night. I'd get there before 9:45. I'd watch. If it looked like someone was in real danger, I'd call the police immediately. If it turned out to be nothing serious, then at least I'd know. At least I could sleep at night. Was it a stupid plan? Probably. Was it dangerous? Maybe. But I couldn't just sit at home wondering. Couldn't just let Thursday night happen without knowing what it really was. I finally fell asleep around 2 a.m. My dreams were confused and anxious. I kept seeing those floor plans, those surveillance photos, that message, someone's going to get hurt. Thursday morning arrived too quickly. I called in sick to work, told them I had food poisoning. My boss didn't question it. I'd never taken a sick day before. I had the credibility to lie this once. I spent the morning at my apartment, cleaning, organizing, doing anything to keep my hands busy while my mind raced. The burner phone stayed on my kitchen table, silent. No new messages came through. Around noon, I made myself eat lunch, forced down a sandwich and some fruit. I needed to keep my energy up. Who knew what tonight would bring? I tried to nap in the afternoon, but couldn't. Just lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about all the ways this could go wrong, all the ways I could mess this up, all the possible outcomes of tonight. By 4 p.m., I was climbing the walls. I went for a walk around my neighborhood, got coffee at a shop I never usually go to, sat there for an hour watching people come and go, living their normal Thursday lives, not knowing what I knew, not carrying this weight. I wondered if this was how investigators felt, how police officers felt when they knew something bad was going to happen but couldn't stop it yet. This horrible anticipation, this knowledge of future harm. Around 6 p.m., I went back home, changed into dark clothes, jeans, black jacket, black shoes. If I was going to stake out a building at night, I might as well dress the part. I packed a small bag, water bottle, granola bars, my phone charger, both phones, the burner and my own. I felt ridiculous, like I was in some crime show, but I was really doing this. At 8 p.m., I couldn't wait anymore. I needed to get downtown, needed to scope out the area before anything happened. I grabbed my bag and headed out. The subway ride felt endless. Every stop took forever. My heart was pounding, my palms were sweating. I kept checking both phones. No new messages. Radio silence. I got to the area around 8:40, more than an hour early. I found a coffee shop across the street from Westbrook's office building, one with outdoor seating where I could watch the northwest entrance. I ordered a coffee I didn't want and sat at a table with a clear view. The street was busy. Thursday evening in the city. People leaving work late, others heading to dinner or bars. Normal life happening all around me. I tried to blend in, pulled out my laptop like I was working, but really, I was just watching that entrance, waiting. At 9 p.m., I saw Richard Westbrook leave the building, same as last night, briefcase in hand. He walked toward the parking garage. My heart rate spiked. Was he leaving for the night? Would he be back? But then, about 5 minutes later, I saw his BMW pull out of the garage and circle back.
He parked on the street near the northwest entrance, right near where the messages said they'd meet. So he was coming back. For what? Did he work late on Thursdays? Or was there something else bringing him back here tonight? The minutes ticked by. 9:15, 9:20, 9:30. I could barely sit still. My coffee was cold and untouched. At 9:35, I saw someone approaching the northwest entrance. A woman. She was young, maybe late 20s, brown hair pulled back in a ponytail, wearing a dark hoodie and jeans. She looked nervous, kept glancing around, checking her phone. Was this her? The owner of the burner phone? One of the women who'd accused Westbrook? She didn't go to the entrance, just stood nearby, waiting, looking anxious. I wanted to run across the street, warn her, tell her I knew about the plan. But what would I say? How would I explain knowing anything? 9:40. My hands were shaking. I pulled out my own phone, opened the emergency dial screen, finger hovering over the call button, ready to dial 911 if needed. At 9:42, another person appeared, taller than the first woman, wearing dark clothes and a baseball cap. I couldn't tell much about them from this distance. They walked up to the first woman. They talked. Their body language looked tense. I stood up from my table. My coffee tipped over, brown liquid spreading across the table. I didn't care. I couldn't sit anymore. Couldn't just watch from a distance. I moved closer to the street, still across from them, but nearer, close enough to maybe hear something, close enough to act if I needed to. At 9:44, I saw Richard Westbrook. He was walking back toward his building from wherever he'd gone, walking right toward the two people in dark clothes. This was it. Whatever was going to happen was happening right now. The woman in the hoodie saw him first. She stepped forward, said something to him. I couldn't hear from across the street. Westbrook stopped, looked at her. Even from here, I could see the confusion on his face. The second person moved closer too, flanking him, blocking his path. My thumb hit the emergency call button. The phone started to dial. 3 rings. 4. Hello? What's your emergency? I opened my mouth to speak, to tell them there was a situation happening, that someone might be in danger, that they needed to send someone right away. But then I saw it. The second person pulled something from their jacket. My voice caught in my throat. This was really happening, right in front of me, and I was about to either save someone's life or ruin someone's plan for justice. The emergency operator spoke again. Hello? Can you hear me? What's your emergency? I opened my mouth. Words formed. But before I could speak them, something happened across the street that made me freeze. The woman in the hoodie stepped even closer to Westbrook, right up in his face, and what the second person was holding became clear in the light. It wasn't a weapon. Or maybe it was, just not the kind I'd been imagining. My mind raced to process what I was seeing, to understand what this meant, to figure out if I was watching a crime about to happen or something else entirely. Ma'am, if you don't respond, I'm going to send officers to your location. Your phone's GPS shows... I hung up, ended the call. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped my phone. Because across the street, I finally understood what I was looking at. And it changed everything I thought I knew about what was happening tonight. But it was too late to stop it now. Whatever this was, it was already in motion, and I had to decide in the next few seconds whether to just watch it happen or to run across that street and make myself part of this story in a way I could never take back. The woman in the hoodie was yelling now. I could hear her voice, but not the words. Westbrook was backing up, hands raised. The second person moved with him, keeping close, keeping whatever they had in their hand visible. People on the street were starting to notice, starting to look, starting to pull out their phones. In moments, this would be recorded, posted online, impossible to contain or control. And I was standing here with the burner phone in my pocket, with screenshots of their messages, with knowledge of their plan, a plan I still didn't fully understand. I took a step toward the street, then stopped, took another step, stopped again. What was I doing? What could I do? What should I do? The question spun in my head with no answers. Just this moment, this impossible moment where everything could change based on what I decided right now. Across the street, the confrontation was escalating. More people were stopping to watch. Someone might call the police for real, someone who wasn't confused and hesitating like me. I had to choose, right now, in the next breath, in the next heartbeat. Watch or act, silent or involved, part of this story or separate from it. My foot moved forward, toward the street, toward them, toward whatever this was, and that's when everything exploded into chaos in a way I never could have predicted.